Hi there, and welcome to Apple World. O.J. Simpson was quite possibly one of the most famous preliminary in U.S. history. So when news broke that he had succumbed to malignant growth on April 10th at 76 years old in Las Vegas, the partitioned public rushed to answer with blended sentiments about the ex-master competitor dying superstars like Caitlyn Jenner, who wed Chris soon after her split with burglarized Kardashian, didn't keep down either, sharing a post on X that read, "No love lost." O.J. Simpson. While different competitors shared messages regarding Simpson's inheritance, I have consistently regarded O.J. for what he's done on the field as well as off the field. Jim Watchman, leader of the expert football lobby of popularity, put out a proclamation saying O.J. Simpson was the principal player to arrive at a hurrying imprint. Many ideas couldn't be accomplished in a 14-game season when he beat 2,000 yards. His on-field commitments will be safeguarded in the Corridors Chronicles in Canton, Ohio. The split conclusions after his passing show exactly the way that troublesome his preliminary was. Regardless of whether you weren't alive at the time, you've probably known about the public football stars. Scandalous preliminary. Eventually in time, O.J.'s guard lawyer Lute Kardashian, father to Kim, addressed him being investigated when he was blamed for unjustly residing his ex Nicole earthy-colored Simpson and her companion Ronald Goldman. He was vindicated in October 1995, sending the public reaction into a furor. It turned into a typical inquiry to pose. Do you figure O.J. did it as a significant number of the suppositions were separated? I think some of the time we fail to remember exactly the way in which insane and public this case was and how much the nation was put resources into it. For some setting, Nicole was found unalive beyond her townhouse in Leh. Obviously, the companion or ex-life partner generally turns into the most probable subject. So the police rushed to go for O.J. When O.J. learned about his looming charges, he chose, as opposed to giving up, he would conceal toward the rear of a game utility vehicle driven by his companion. Ion AC purposes for living policing informed that he was holding a weapon to his head and continued to follow the vehicle for north of an hour. The pursuit was broadcast live broadly and got the consideration of around 95 million watchers. A portion of his stalwart fans even volunteered to arrange on scaffolds and side of the road to look as the horse drove by. Some cheered and waved in fortitude. With him, the sluggish vehicle pursuit at long last reached a conclusion at O.J.'s home in Brentwood, California, where he was arrested by police. Come on, broad communications specialists say. Simpson's hair-raising broadcast low-speed pursuit. O.J. in the vehicle capture and murder preliminary doesn't fit. You should clear it as the primary unscripted TV drama and maybe the best three-ring TV peculiarity. Truly, during the underlying preliminary in 1994, the O.J. endeavored to argue that he was not blameworthy anyway. At the time, it appeared that his chances of not being charged would be thin as it was raised that there had been DV revealed between the couple prior to their separation. The jury and the OVED entitled activity view the litigant, Orenthal. James Simpson is not unquestionably liable for the wrongdoing of homicide, disregarding correctional statement segment 187. A lawful offense against Nicole earthy-colored Simpson, a person is charged, included one of the data in a single episode on New Year's Day, 1989. The police found Nicole severely harmed and concealing their home. She was terrified for her life. Simpson was captured and seen as at legitimate fault for harming her, yet he just got a fine and probation. They separated in 1992, yet the issues didn't stop in 1993. Nicole called 911 again on the grounds that he had gotten back to her place, showing that their issues were a long way from being resolved. At one point, the world heard O.J. Simpson's ex, Nicole earthy-colored Simpson, says I would rather not remain available, going to beat the standby brief afterward. Simpson was accused of the horrendous killings by blade of Nicole and her companion Ron Goldman. The examiners, Mara Clark and Christopher Darden, introduced a ton of proof. They showed that the blood shoe prints, hair, shirt strands, and rug strings at the homicide scene matched O.J. Simpson or his home. Tests additionally showed that the ridiculous glove found at Simpson's home resembled the one found at the location of the crime. They raised the issue multiple times when Simpson had been oppressive to his better half. O.J.'s vigorously stacked gathering of lawyers, known as the Fantasy Group, comprised of powerhouses, including Robert Shapiro and Ransack Kardashian, Robert Coate, Shan Chapman, Holly, Alan DeForschitz, F. Lee Bailey, and Johnny Cochran. O.J.'s primary guard was that the Los Angeles Police Division was bigoted and the proof was misused. As the preliminary unfurled before Judge Spear Ito and a jury of 10 dark individuals, it was clear there were issues with how the police had researched some photographs that might have been utilized as proof were either lost or named wrong, and how the DNA was gathered and kept wasn't done accurately, which made individuals figure it could have been meddled with analyst imprint Furman. A significant observer conceded he had gone into Simpson's home and found the matching glove and other key proof without a legitimate court order. The protection recommended that Furman could have put the glove there deliberately, yet they couldn't demonstrate it. What truly hurt the case, however, was the way the protection showed Furman had a past filled with offering bigoted remarks, despite the fact that Furman guaranteed he hadn't offered any bigoted comments for a long time. 4 observers and a recorded meeting played during the preliminary demonstrated he was lying, which made him less conceivable. After the preliminary, Furman faced charges for lying after swearing to tell the truth and was found blameworthy, making him the main individual sentenced. In this entire circumstance, a serious mix-up occurred during the preliminary when the arraignment requested that Simpson put on the gloves found with the wrongdoing proof. Simpson battled to put them on the grounds that they appeared to be excessively little for his hands. The case's OJ's lawyer made a racial shamefulness reverberated with numerous who had managed degenerate equity frameworks, particularly when it came to their therapy of the POC people group. This caused a gap in the popular assessment of whether he was liable or not. The preliminary went on for a very long time, and on the day the decision was to be reported, the town hall was encircled by fans searching for the signatures of individuals selling shirts, road ministers, and photographic artists. This preliminary, frequently called the preliminary of the century, had 126 observers, 1.5 bits of proof, and created 45,000 pages of record in the wake of being secluded from the rest of the world for 266 days. The longest in California's set of experiences. The jury required just 3 hours to go with their choice. When the decision was reported, America nearly appeared to freeze everybody, whether at home, work, air terminals, or retail plazas, halting to watch the result. Even President Bill Clinton got out of the Oval Office to witness what might be in court. There were clearly responses, and certain individuals cheered with satisfaction. While others communicated shock and consternation, the decision gave joy to many dark Americans, as they felt it was a success against an equity framework that they felt was set up for them to bomb. Many white Americans anyway were not satisfied with the decision and felt the casualties merited equity following the preliminary O.J. Simpson, and the whole case turned into a hotly debated issue for television specials, motion pictures, and more than 30 books, with large numbers of those associated with the preliminary composing their own records and procuring millions from them. Simpson and Lawrence Schiller delivered a book called I Need to Tell You, loaded up with letters, photographs, and his side of the story, which sold many duplicates and made him more than $1,000. Right when we assumed we had seen the result of this enormously open preliminary, the groups of the casualties sued Simpson for their unjust passings. The common fight started in 1996, and the jury found him liable for the deaths of Nicole Earthy-Colored Simpson and Ronald Goldman. The families were to be paid out $33.5 million in penalties. This common preliminary, which tried not to examine racial issues, was to some degree a success for the families, yet a misfortune for Simpson, who asserted he would never pay everything. Simpson, who had utilized a ton of his cash on his criminal protection, was remembered to have had around $1 million preceding the preliminary, yet was left with about $3.5 million. Subsequently, a bartering of his effects, including his Heisman Prize, raised about $500,000, which went to the casualties' families, yet he actually owed much more. He got back care of his kids with Nicole Simpson and moved to Florida in 2000, where he had a calmer existence playing golf and residing on his annuities, which added up to about $400,000 per year. Florida regulations shielded his home and benefits from being taken to pay the court's damages. Simpson's life was presently not as marvelous or productive, yet he figured out how to send his children to great schools and carry on with a to some degree ordinary life, sporadically being found openly and giving signatures. He confronted minor legitimate issues like being fined for speeding in a safeguarded region for manatees and for taking satellite television administrations in 2006 as the cash he owed to the casualties' families expanded to $38 million. Fred Goldman, Ronald Goldman's dad, sued C. M. Peason, asserting he attempted to try not to pay the harms through his book and television bargain, assuming I got it done, although the venture was dropped and Simpson didn't need to return the $800,000 advance. The Goldman family ultimately distributed the book, stressing Simpson's culpability on the cover to a degree of negligibility that one can take a stab at. OJ just couldn't avoid the town hall as he showed up again in 2008, blamed for breaking into a Las Vegas lodging, joined by others to take sports memorabilia. Yet this time, he was seen as at real fault for this wrongdoing. Simpson said he was simply attempting to get back his own things that were taken from him, like a few footballs grants and a photograph with the FBI chief, J. Edgar Hoover, and he guaranteed he realized nothing about firearms being there anyway. 4 men who were captured with him and conceded their responsibility in court expressed contrastingly, with 2 of them affirming they had firearms since Simpson. Subscribe Apple World for more videos.